All right, I think my voice is going to hold. Well, let's ask Spirit, help my voice.
Yeah, you're going to be great. Okay. Welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio. I am Caroline Chang, your host. The mission of Awake to Oneness Radio is to inspire the world to awaken to the universal truth of oneness. Science is now teaching us that all life is interconnected and interdependent. In essence, it's all one thing. And ancient wisdom and spirituality has been teaching the truth of oneness for eons, and science is now catching up. But it's not even new science. The quantum physics is over 100 years old. This is something, as a humanity, we should know. That we are all literally connected. What you do to another person, you are actually doing to another aspect of yourself. And when mankind awakens to the universal truth of oneness, there will be peace on earth. Today's show topic is helping you heal and find peace with Colleen Smith. Colleen, welcome.
Hello, Caroline.
Hey, Colleen.
Hello.
I just want to let the listeners know that I just adore Colleen. I met her several years ago through our favorite medium, and you're a great medium too, but Suzanne.
Yay,
Yes,
Suzanne.
my listeners know how much I adore Suzanne. And Suzanne had gifted me with my first reading. And then since that was on Kyle's birthday, my son's birthday, I wanted to have another reading, but Suzanne is tied up. So she, said, here, I have a great student, Colleen Smith. And I've been just loving Colleen ever since. Colleen, please share with our listeners. I know your journey, and I want you to share with our listeners your journey. Actually, I just found out today, looking at your website, that you were a helicopter pilot.
Yeah. Yes.
Now I know about Suzanne's background in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you had. See, I've known you for 2 or 3 years, and I did not know you had a military background.
Yeah. What do you mean? I don't look like an Army pilot to you?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in ROTC in college, and then went off to flight school, and that's where I started my work career. Was in the Army.
Okay. See, and I just found that out today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So share. You start from the beginning.
Okay.
Share with our listeners.
So I guess where I would start, since this is a spiritually based show, would be on the spiritual journey. And for me, it all started in the beginning. I was born with the ability to see and hear spirit. And as a young child,
really?
You don't even,
I didn't know that either.
See how much you're learning today?
I am.
And as a young child, boy, you are so comfortable with it. And as those of us that work in the spirit world, the one thing we know is comfort is key. If you can get yourself to be relaxed and comfortable, then the spirit communication flows, you can hear and see. So as a child, you have the advantage of not having the logical brain talking you out of it.
Right.
So as a child, I would talk and hang out with spirit, and it was wonderful. And that's where I got my comfort with it.
Wow.
But I didn't have anybody in the family to mentor me. So there just was nobody to teach me or to help it grow. And what happened was early teens, I started to become afraid. So fear entered the picture like it does for a lot of us.
Right.
And I was afraid of a few things. I was afraid from like the movies that spirit was going to do something mean or like the rock, that kind of thing. So that started to happen. And then I also, young teenage years are when you want to fit in, and to fit in, you want to be like everybody else. And I began to realize that not everybody is talking to spirit, seeing spirit. So I felt different. So I wanted to fit in.
Right.
So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, can you help me with this? She brings me to a therapist, and therapist says, well, you're an empath, that's for sure. which I thought was pretty progressive because that was, 40 some odd years ago.
Okay.
And I worked with a therapist for over a year to turn it off.
Mm.
Yeah. So it went quieter, but it didn't go completely off. But it did go quieter.
Yes.
And then I went about my Army. I went to college. I got married. I had children. I did all of those types of things, and I went on a few spiritual journeys. But life's busy when you're doing all of that, and then the spiritual side really started to come back. I did a corporate career, did it in human resources, and still was interested in people healing and people growing.
Right.
And so I did the corporate career, and then went out and became a therapist. So got deeper into human healing and growth.
Yes.
And then started to do some spiritual exploration, but I was still what I was in the closet.
Okay.
I didn't talk.
I love that. Closet spiritual person. There's a lot of them because
there are more than you know, but I didn't talk about it publicly.
Right.
And part of it was I was afraid, again, there's that word, fear. I was afraid that my professional peers, the other therapists, would not see me as credible, would not see me as professional if they knew about this other side.
Yes.
So I utilized it with my clients, but I just didn't say where the information was coming from. So I kept it hidden.
Right.
And then my life changed because my oldest son, Austin, he passed, and I have 4 children. Again, he's the oldest, but it was unexpected and sudden, and the type of passing that just throws you head first into grief and into spirit.
Yes.
So it was that event that helped me just embrace it again and bring it out full force.
Yes. Can you share that with us? Share the your journey with Austin?
Yeah. Oh, Austin was such a wonderful man. He passed a little over 3 years ago, and he was 26 years old.
Okay.
And he passed of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And but at the time, nothing made sense, and we couldn't get all the answers about his passing. Okay. And so it was me turning to spirit. It was for answers that really helped this whole adventure start. So there were no signs of suicide. In fact, it was the opposite. He had made future plans. He had just finished the most difficult part of medical school, the academic phase, and he was in the rotation phase. And that's the good part. That's the part everybody can't wait to get to, because you get to go out and do your craft. You're in the hospital, trying it out. And he was so happy. He loved that part. And he had purchased on Friday, before he passed, he purchased a really expensive piece of medical equipment to use in his next rotation. And he renewed his Sirius radio for a year. He paid a pet deposit, he had just adopted a cat. And the very last thing he did is he went grocery shopping. And then he died. So it just didn't make sense. So I said to my husband, I got to talk to a medium. Because as a parent, not having all the answers was just excruciating.
Right.
So I didn't know any mediums, and just so happens I found Austin. So it was very traumatic, very visual trauma. And for anybody out there that's experienced anything like that, especially if there's a visual component that you saw something, EMDR is a fantastic protocol. It's the eye movement protocol that they actually use with soldiers, who have seen some pretty horrific things in battle. And so they use this EMDR to help with the visual trauma. So
Okay.
I immediately got myself into EMDR, and
Right.
which, by the way, it really helped a lot.
Okay.
But that therapist knew about Suzanne Giesemann. Isn't that a coincidence?
Yes.
No. So anyway, she says, hey, there's this great medium that's coming to town, and she's going to be teaching a course. So why don't you sign up? And I said, that sounds like a great idea. So I signed up, and this was only about 2 months after Austin passed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And Suzanne never comes to our part of town, our area. So, you know.
She's only come here once, and I did go see her too. She's been here once, yes.
So it was like divine intervention. So
Yes.
anyway, so I signed up for the workshop, and it's Serving Spirit, and that's the one where she teaches you how to connect
Yes.
to your departed loved ones. And so it
Yes.
was perfect because I was wanting to connect with Austin, but I also wanted the services of a medium.
Right.
So I wrote to her and requested a private reading and put down all my information, my phone number and all of that. Her office writes back and said, sorry, the wait list is, I forget, it was about 2 years at that point. And so, you know, and I said, that's okay, I'll wait. And so I come home and I say to my husband, hey, it's a 2-year wait. But what I want you to do with me is, will you sit on the bed with me and hold hands? And we're going to send energy out to the universe, telling the universe, please let Suzanne do this reading because we really need this. So my husband, who's like a left brain engineer type of guy, says, certainly I'll do that, because I think he would have done anything for me. So he hops on the bed, we cup a squat, we hold hands, and we send energy out to the universe. My cell phone is sitting on the bed next to me, and it rings. As we're sending energy out to the universe, who do you think is on the cell phone?
Suzanne.
It's Suzanne. So I pick up the phone and I look and I say to my husband, oh my God, it's Suzanne, it's the medium. She's on the phone. So I answer and she says, Colleen, this is Suzanne Giesemann. And she says, I was eating dinner with my family and I just got the biggest download of energy coming and saying that I needed to reach out to you and that I need to set up a reading.
Well, that is amazing. Now, I want to share because it's the perfect timing. It's so similar, my experience with Suzanne and yours. I was sharing with you before we got started. I was inspired to start this show about 6 months after Kyle's transition. And I didn't know what kind of guests I was going to have. I just know it was something I needed to do. And I took the first step. And one of my guests recommended Suzanne. Now, when Kyle transitioned, I knew I wanted a reading with a medium, but I did not go looking for one. I said to myself, that medium has to find me.
That's a great way. Yeah.
For a medium at all. And then a guest recommends Suzanne. And after I had Suzanne as a guest on my show, I said, that's the medium for me. Okay. But again, now Kyle transitioned 5 years ago, so a little bit longer than Austin. So at that time, she had an 18-month waiting list. And I said to her, after we did that show together, I said, put me at the bottom of that waiting list, but I definitely want to be on your waiting list. And so that's kind of how it went. And then a few months went by, and it was getting close to Kyle's birthday. And all I did is email her, and Kyle's birthday was on Thanksgiving Day. And I just emailed her and said, I'm thinking about Kyle a lot. She emailed me right back because she had already gotten the message from Sanaya, her spirit guides, that she was doing a reading for a mom that had a son in spirit on Thanksgiving Day. She didn't know who it was until she got my email. When she got my email, she knew that it was me. She responded right back, set up the reading, and
isn't it amazing how that works?
It is. It is.
You know, I'm a medium now myself, and and clients will reach out at just the right moment. I will have a client cancel, and then someone will call like a few minutes later, and it lines up to be exactly when it needed to be, like a special date or You know, it's the only time that they have available and I have available. So it's amazing how it all it works.
Everything does truly happen in perfect divine timing. I know we get our humanness, we get in the way sometimes, but when we just allow it to happen, it all happens in perfect divine timing. So,
I believe.
Yes.
And also, I do think there's merit in what you're saying about how the medium chooses you, or what a lot of people believe is that the spirit person, the loved one, chooses the medium that they can communicate with.
Yes.
And then they help the humans, the medium and their loved one, connect in a way through a series of synchronicities. So they line it up. They pick the medium, they line it up.
I think you're absolutely correct. Yes. Yes.
So it worked out. So Suzanne ends up doing this reading for us, and it was, of course, a fantastic, beautiful reading. And one of the and she helped answer the question, you know, of how Austin passed. And unfortunately, Austin was very, very drunk that evening, and he had several guns because on the weekends he would go out with his friends and they would go to target shooting and to ranges, and it was a hobby. He was a hobbyist.
Yes.
So he had guns around, and he got very, very drunk and had a gun, and it went off.
It was an accident.
So,
yeah.
So it's you know, it's so hard not to have all of the pieces, because what happens is when you don't have all the information, then your brain makes up a storyline and inserts pieces, and it's usually a lot worse than the reality of it. And so, but at least Suzanne was able to fill in a lot of the missing pieces, which helped us. And at that reading, it was so beautiful. So my left brain husband, who went along for support, he came out of that reading and he couldn't talk. He literally could not talk. When he finally gathered himself, his words were, and I'll never forget this, he said, "That was a life-changing experience. I just had a conversation with my son."
Amazing.
You know, and this is a man that is a man of science, and Suzanne was able to give him enough evidence that it changed his worldview. And I'll never forget that. And there's a lot of experiences I have now as a medium where I get the honor of providing that kind of evidence to somebody to help their grief and to help their worldview.
Yes.
I feel, you know, like to be able, I wake up every day and I can't believe I get to do this work.
It's great. It's amazing. I want to share with you, I didn't want to interrupt you when you were sharing about Austin, but something Austin and Kyle have in common. Kyle, since he was a child, had a fascination with guns. And I would not allow him to have a toy gun. And then I thought to myself, as he got grown and got guns, I'm like, okay, I messed up because I wouldn't let him play with the toys. Now he's buying the real things. Seriously.
I think either way, you know. And there is a resurgence of interest. There's more shooting ranges coming up and whatnot. Yes. I will say that I did hear about this product that I wish we had. And it's a product, it's like a gun safe, but in order to get the gun safe open, you have to blow into a tube to show that you haven't been drinking.
Wow.
I wish we had. That's
amazing. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because guns and alcohol don't mix.
Yes, definitely. Okay. But that's something now that you can help promote and share with the rest of the world that, hey, you guys need to buy this gun safe so you don't open it when you had too much to drink.
Yeah, it makes the decision for you.
That existed. Yeah.
I didn't either, and somebody told me about it. I've been meaning to research it, but I think it's a great concept. But I do believe things, you know, they happen for a reason, and I am one of those believers in pre-life planning, and so I believe that Austin and I chose to do this journey together, and this was the way that it was to be.
Yes.
And
Yes.
And actually, before Austin passed for several years, I knew he was going to not have a long life. I knew he was going to pass, and I was telling my husband, and we both wanted to just say, well, this isn't true, and, but deep down inside, I knew. And sometimes you just know.
And you knew too, because it was a soul plan. I know that it was a soul plan with me and Kyle. I just know it. And you and Austin are still working together, and Kyle and I are still working together. So it's all going according to plan. It's all good.
I know. Yeah. And such deep learning, deep learning. So Spirit did come and tell me, before I found out here in the on Earth, the human side of me found out about Austin's passing. Spirit came and told me. So it was 2:00 in the morning, and I woke up crying. I was in the middle of bawling my eyes out, and I knew. I absolutely knew. It was 2:00 in the morning. I rolled over. I reached for my cell phone, and I started calling Austin. And I called him 8 times, and he didn't answer. And then what I did, which I imagine a lot of your listeners out there who have had this experience did, you lay there and you bargain with God. Please don't let this be true. I'll do anything to make this not true. And you start to bargain. Deep down inside, I knew. But Spirit came and told me. So the next morning, because Austin had just moved out just a few weeks before, so I didn't yet have a key to his apartment. So the next morning, I woke up and went to his apartment. And there was a man outside, and I said, hey, I don't have a key to his apartment. This is I haven't been able to get in touch with my son. Can you please let me in? He was dressed in all white. It was a young man dressed in all white, and he was sweeping in front of the office. Wow. And he said, well, everybody is at a meeting, but I'll let you in. So we walk up to Austin's apartment, and we're standing at the door, and I heard clear as day, Caroline, I heard, today is the day. Today is the day. And I heard it, and the man dressed in all white stood there, and he puts the key in the door, and he turns to me, and he says, are you ready? I thought, what an odd thing for this
to say, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, are you ready? And I said, yes. So we went in, and of course, to my horror, it was true. And but that was the beginning of blatant spirit communication, and it continued all through those first couple of months.
Yes.
Amazing communication that without it, I don't know if I would have survived.
I know. I know exactly what you mean. I think my story, where when I was first told that Kyle was going to transition and he didn't, and I experienced a medical miracle. That's the only reason I'm still here, because he didn't transition and I think that was one of his exit points. And he decided, she's not ready. I have to wait, give her more time to get ready. So, and I do believe they have exit points, but I believe the window is like 3 years, give or take 3 years in either direction. And the thing, now I know, share with the listeners, I know that you're a medium and that Austin helps you. Share how did that come about?
Well, one of the beautiful parts about it is we had made a plan here on Earth when he was over here in med school that we were going to work together. Okay. And we said we would office together. And he would heal the body as a medical doctor, and I would heal the mind as a psychotherapist. And so we were planning on working together. But after he passed, it certainly, I didn't start doing the mediumship for probably about a year after. I really started the full-time study and then started seeing clients. But Austin would come into the readings, and he holds up x-rays for me. and shows me the parts of the body that for the departed loved one. And when they're talking about how they departed, Austin will show X-rays to give me pieces of evidence to share with the family members.
Wow.
Or he'll give me medical names, but I'm not a medical intuitive.
Okay.
But he does contribute
Right.
to the story, explaining the story of how they passed.
Okay. And so how did that start though? How did that first happen where you were working, you were a student of becoming a medium, and when did Austin just kind of show up and say, "Hey mom, I'm going to help you with this"?
It was in the first couple of readings that I did as a student. He would show up and I knew he was sitting there, and then all of a sudden he started to show me things, show me organs and X-rays, and tell me the names of medications, and I knew it was him because I didn't know that I would have to write it phonetically and then look it up later to see, or the
Right.
client would verify, yes, that's the name of the medication.
And he's a doctor, so he knows all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really interesting, and of course I love working with Austin.
Mm-hmm.
But that brings me to a point, Caroline, that I wanted to make sure that we talked about today, and that is that it is possible to have a current, ongoing relationship with a departed loved one. It absolutely is possible.
Yes.
It will be different than the relationship you had when they were here on earth, and let's face it, all of us would choose first to have them here on earth. Exactly. Of course we would change it if we could.
Yes.
But we can't.
Right.
And so because we can't change it, the options are they've transitioned, period, the end, or they've transitioned and let me figure out a new way to do relationship with them. And let me tell you, that second path, wow, that's so, it helps.
It's wonderful. It's amazing. I have to say, I mean, I love Kyle being here in the physical, but my spiritual relationship with him now is closer than when he was in the physical. He was 29 years old. Kyle moved out when he was 18, and he's living with his friends, and he's, I hear from him Mother's Day, see him around the holidays. I mean, and he only lived 40 minutes away, but he had his life, I had my life. Now, like I said, he's with me. I know when he's with me. He's very proud of this show. He said that in that first reading with Suzanne, and he said he's my co-host. And he's with me. It's like we have a closer relationship now that he's in spirit. And I know he's not gone.
And you guys get to work together too.
Yeah, we do. And so it's, definitely, like you said.
I do think they're around more than they would have been in the earth life.
Yes.
Because at least for Austin, he's with me all the time.
Yes.
I think of him, he's right there.
Right there, exactly.
And so that's a beautiful piece.
Yes.
But I like, so Austin sends signs, and his sign that he really loves is feathers.
Yes.
And so he's been sending feathers for a couple of years now, and so one day, my young son, I have a 14-year-old son, and of course he's in grief with his brother's transition. Right. And one of the things that he and his brother did when Austin was here on Earth is they had this DJ equipment, and they would do DJing together. So music and lights that would go don't with the music. And a few months ago, when my young son's name is Dakota, when Dakota would open the refrigerator, the lights started going almost like DJ music. They would go bonk, bonk, bonk. The lights of the refrigerator would go music. And so Dakota started laughing, and it became a thing. And the refrigerator doesn't do it when other people open. It's when Dakota opens
it.
And the lights go.
Yes.
And so And so Dakota will go to the refrigerator, and he'll open the refrigerator, and I'll hear him talking to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking into the refrigerator. So there he is talking to his brother while
Yes.
the refrigerator lights are going wild. And Dakota's just talking away, and Dakota will be telling him about something that happened at school or
Right.
something else. But to me, it's the visualization of a
Yes.
current relationship.
Yes.
Right? This is a current conversation. These are current memories.
Yes.
And then one day, Dakota opens the refrigerator, the lights start to go, and this little feather floats down in the refrigerator.
Oh my goodness.
Caroline, in the refrigerator.
Refrigerator, I know. Yes.
It floats down.
Yes.
And
yes.
Dakota did a dance of joy, and it was just
Yes.
a beautiful moment.
Yes,
But
it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's and the more we talk, I am seeing how much Austin and Kyle have in common, because that was Kyle's best friend was a DJ, and they kind of would work together, and I have pictures of Kyle DJing, and oh my goodness.
Caroline, doesn't that make sense? Because what they tell us is they make friends over across the veil.
Yeah.
And so it's highly likely that
Yeah.
Kyle and Austin
Yeah.
found each other,
Yes.
made friends, and said, "Hey, let's connect our mothers."
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
I think so. Yes.
That happens pretty often.
Yes, very true. Very true.
It helps me. It helps me to think about Austin making friends,
Mhm.
continuing a life, doing things that he enjoys.
Yes. Yes.
And as a psychotherapist, I see a lot of people in grief.
Yes.
And everybody does grief differently. That's one of the hard things about grief. Yes, there are like stages of grief. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and David Kessler. If people haven't found him, his website is grief.com.
Okay.
And he is an excellent speaker on grief. He's particularly good too for men or left-brain people. Like he's scientifically based, and
Right.
he has some great work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I forgot where I was going with that.
But you were saying, no, I can bring you back, I think. You were saying that people grieve differently.
Yeah.
And, yes.
And Elizabeth and David, they outlined the stages of grief. But in operationally, everybody's journey is different.
Yes.
But when some clients arrive and we start our grief work, some people are so, I guess the word is stuck. They're so stuck, and part of the stuckness is this vision that their child or their loved one has stopped life, and it's period the end, and it's so difficult to move on with period the end.
Yes.
And when a lot of their relief actually begins to start when they start to think about the concept of their loved one continuing life.
Exactly. Well, you were the one who let me know that I told you that Kyle, 2-3 months, about a month before he actually went into the hospital. Last 3 months of Kyle's life, he wasn't in the hospital. But a month before he went in, he bought a new car, not a new car, but a new car to him, which I thought he shouldn't have, with his medical condition, he shouldn't even be driving. So I was like, but he got his disability came in like one lump sum because he was waiting on it for 2 years. So they sent him all this back disability. So if to a kid, he's rich, I'm going to buy a car. Now that is my sign. When I see that car all the time, with the GMC logo on the front. I see it all the time, and I know that's his sign. And you told me he's driving that car now. So he's like, hey, Ma, I'm driving that car. I'm good.
And Carolyn, I didn't know about the car, right?
Right.
I didn't know you and Kyle in the car and the Persian. But
Right.
we were able in our reading to identify that car. Now, how
Yes.
can I make that up?
Right. Exactly.
I don't know the make and the model, and I didn't know this backstory. And
Yes.
there he is,
Yes.
driving in this reading.
Yes.
And that's the way he showed, hey, I'm still doing life.
I'm still doing life. And that's exactly what you said to me. You said, Mom, I'm doing life with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
are not, when you know, and I know in my heart, they're not gone. Austin's not gone. Kyle's not gone. They're just, it's like, we can't physically see them anymore or hug them and all of that stuff. But I would be fussing at him to take out the garbage or shovel the yard or something. Yeah, I'd be fussing at him if he was here. So with him in spirit, it's like when you know it, it's like you said, that stuck, when you said the word stuck. And that's what I think about when people are deep in grief. They're stuck, not realizing life does go on. Life does go on, and they're right there with you. And they want you to know they're fine living life, and they want you to live life. And they're right there with you living life.
And because you've had readings, but one of the common thing that Spirit does is they give evidence of what is going on in the sitter. That's you, the sitter, the receiver of the medium. They give evidence of what's going on in the sitter's life now.
Yes.
Like just yesterday I was doing a reading, and towards the end of the reading, this person in spirit said, hey, tell them their gutters are clogged. They need their gutters cleaned. And they went on to talk about how an appointment was made for the gutters. And when I said this, the sitter goes, oh my God, just yesterday I made an appointment to get my gutters cleaned. It's something that my husband used to do. Right. And there is Spirit.
Yes.
Giving them a current happening, a current event.
Yes.
And boy, that's great evidence.
Yes. And letting the person know that they're right there with you. They see everything that's going on, what needs to be done around the house, and all those things. Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. One lady was funny. She was telling me about, all of a sudden I started to see a ton of Keds sneakers.
Yes.
And lots of them, boxes and boxes of Keds. And she starts laughing. She says, oh my God, you mean they know that I've been on a bit of a spending spree and buying Ked sneakers? And I was like, yeah, they do.
Yes, they know. Yes, they do.
But it's not like they're watching you. Some people will be like, oh gosh, are they hearing every single thought I have? Or are they watching me take a shower? Or they have things to do too. They have a life to do.
Yes.
So they're not there every second, but they are there at important moments. They're there when we think of them.
Yes.
And of course, you and I, we love our signs.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. All the signs. And when you're open, that's the thing. When you know that they're not gone, you open yourself up to the signs, and you start realizing, that's a sign. When you don't let your left brain talk you out of the signs.
Exactly.
Yes, because they are sending us signs all the time. But a lot of times we'll let the left brain, the monkey brain, I call it, talk us out. And it's like, oh no, that's just a coincidence, or oh no, that's just me wanting it so.
That's what I used to do. So when all these feathers started arriving, and let me tell you, there's been some incredible signs. But when they all started arriving, I would talk myself out of it. So maybe I would believe it right in the moment when it was happening. But over the next day or two, I would come up with all the reasons why that feather was in that place. And I basically would deny the sign. And eventually I got to a place where I just said, you know what, I'm going to let the sign in. I'm just going to take the sign. I'm going to accept the sign. And I started taking pictures. Which for those listeners out there, that's one of the things that really helped me. I would take a photo with my phone, and then, so the next day after the sign arrived, when I started to not believe it or to doubt, I would look at the photo, and I would remember the feeling I had when that feather arrived, when I found the feather. And
Yeah.
it helped me continue the belief.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been, signs have been one of the main sources of my healing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I call them breadcrumbs. They were the breadcrumbs that led me out of the dark.
Right. Why don't you share? Because you shared with us Mother's Day weekend. Was it your birthday or was it Austin's birthday?
It was my birthday.
Yeah, share. It was your birthday. Okay, share that story with her.
That was one of my favorite feathers.
Yes.
So this is like, I don't know, 8 months after Austin passed, and still pretty heavy grief. But he had been leaving me feathers along, and it was my birthday. And I thought, certainly on special day, he's going to leave me some great feather. So all day long, I was looking for the feather. I try not to set myself up for disappointment, but I was looking. So 5 o'clock comes, no feather. I was just beside myself. So I get in bed and I'm crying and crying. Oh, he forgot me, or, oh, this isn't true. I'm making it all up. My husband had put all this work into planning a really nice meal for us. And so I haul myself together, I get dressed, and I'm going to the restaurant. I'm sitting there at the restaurant, and I'm looking down thinking, I must have been the worst date ever. But I'm looking down thinking, I don't think I can get through this meal. And I'm looking down, and I hear the waitress come up, and she says, I'm going to be your waitress. And she puts her arm underneath me to grab the glass to fill it with water. And all along her arm, from her elbow to her wrist, was this huge feather tattoo. And the way she delivered it, she stuck it right under my nose. There was my feather. And then I shout with excitement, and I look up at this waitress, and she's got 2 long feather earrings on. I was like, oh, yay! And then she's thinking, I had such a big reaction. We had to tell her the story. And
Right.
So she says, wait a minute. And she goes and she gets another waiter who was at the restaurant, who was her boyfriend.
Yes.
And hauls him over and has him tell the story of that morning. And he says, this woman was a crazy lady. She hadn't worn those feather earrings in over a year, and she was possessed that she had to wear them that day. And he said she was running around changing outfits because she had to get something to go with these earrings, because she knew she had to wear those earrings.
Wow.
So for me, that was such a beautiful sign. Look at all those pieces that had to get together.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so amazing. And so that's how spirit works. Spirit, like Austin's whispering in her ear, you got to find those earrings, because my mom is going to see. Austin knows that she's going to be your waitress, and you're going to see her. And so, and he's like, you got to find. You can't go to work without those earrings. It's like,
right.
And
when that feather came,
yes,
that smile and joy that I was
Yes.
able to let in, that's because I believed the feather was from Austin, and I
Yes.
knew it, and I let it in, and I didn't talk myself out of it, and I didn't poo-poo it. I just simply accepted it and let it in. And
Wow.
when it's true, it helps heal.
Yes.
It brings a smile back. And
Yes.
the other thing too, Spirit tells me all the time, when we get excited about the sign, they get excited.
Of course.
Yeah.
They
So
work,
when we
they work
smile,
hard to send you that sign. And when you say thank you and when you poo-poo it, it's like they're working hard. I'm working hard to send her a sign, and now she's poo-pooing it. Oh boy.
Yeah.
But when you like, thank you, I see it. I see you.
Yeah.
You're like, great.
It actually helps you get more signs.
Yes.
When you say thank you,
yes.
when you show some excitement, when you smile. They
Yes.
love when we smile. So if you smile, that is, they're going to do it again, because they're going to do things that make us happy. So I actually have, like, I call it my end zone dance, the little jig that you do when you're happy.
Yeah.
When I get a feather man, I do my end zone dance. I look up, I say, Austin, I love it. Look, yay.
Thank you.
And please do it again. So we have this thing that goes on, and I get a ton of feathers. And part of it, I think, is because he knows how happy it makes me.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. And that's our boys want us to be happy and want us to know all of anyone that has a loved one in spirit, your loved one just wants you to be happy and know that they're not here in the physical, but they're just think of them as in another country or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just think of them, but they're not gone. They're living life and they want you to live life and be happy.
Absolutely. Yes. In fact, when I'm doing readings, one of the symbols that they use for me a lot is they'll show me a picture of them, and then they'll show me a picture of the sitter, and they show me a smile, and then they'll draw a line, and they keep going back and forth between the two pictures. Smile, 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 smile. And what the feeling and words that come are, when you smile, I smile. So, so many of us don't want our loved ones to be over there like in pain or sad or missing us and all of those things. One of the best things we can do to avoid that is for us to smile. Because when we smile, they smile.
They smile, yes. Yes.
And so, yeah.
That's so true. That is so wonderful. So now share us now, you started studying about 8 months or so after Austin's transition, and now you have become a medium and you're still doing your psychotherapy and medium, kind of giving the person what they need.
And we should also say I lead a local chapter of Helping Parents Heal, a support group that you and I both.
Yes.
Just such a fantastic organization. So it's a nationwide organization. It's 10,000 members.
Yes.
But there are local chapters. There's also online. There's an online chapter for folks that don't have a local chapter.
Right.
But and that organization is so great because they believe that the soul goes on after the death of the physical body.
Yes.
They do believe in signs, and they do believe in mediums and communication.
Yes.
It's really helpful to have other parents around who've had the experience of having a child pass over, and who you can talk about the signs and they understand and they'll believe.
Exactly. I've been to 4 Helping Parents Heal meetings in person in New York, and they always, because my friend asked me this, I was going the other day, and my friend asked me, what do you do? She doesn't have a child in spirit, but she's like, what do you do at those meetings? And I'm like, we share signs, that we talk about our relationship, our ongoing relationship with our child, and we share signs. That's what we do. And it's like we're having a party. It's like if we have tears, there's tears of joy, because we know that the relationship has not ended. And so she got I got her so excited. She doesn't have a child in spirit, but she's like, I want to go with you.
But we always say it's the club nobody wants to join.
Right.
The first choice would be not to join it. But if this does happen to you and your family, Helping Parents Heal is a great organization. And then they just started not too long ago 2 offshoots, Helping Fathers Heal.
Yes.
And helping siblings heal.
Yes.
So, because you just can't, being with people who understand what you've been through is vital to support and recovery.
Very true. Yes. That is so true.
That's a fantastic organization. So I started doing that, and then my private practice, my therapy private practice, I closed that for it was 2 years, because therapists really have to be healthy before you can help other people heal. Right. So I had to go through my own healing journey.
Yes.
And so I opened back up this past February, and Caroline, boy, it's it's so beautiful to be able to do this grief work.
Yes.
To be able to help people in grief. And,
yes.
And I think sometimes, clients, usually you don't know a whole lot about your therapist, but, because of programs like this and on my website, people know that I have a child in spirit. And I do think it helps. It helps.
Right.
And your therapist knows what it feels like.
What you're going through. Yes, exactly. Yes.
It does. It helps. And I think grief is just too hard to go through by yourself.
Right. Well, I do, like you said, with this show, I've been doing mentoring, and I've had people from all over the world that not just children, but a spouse or just someone. Even I have a mentee that have parents, both his parents. He's the only child, feels totally alone. So I understand exactly how great it makes you feel to be able to help them, just by sharing, what you're going through and sharing the best you can to let them know, because it's the knowing that your loved one is not gone. That is what brings you the peace, is
Absolutely.
knowing that they're right here with you. And so as much as I can share that with them, I do. And it's like you said, I understand that doing that work is just, it's so rewarding in itself.
Absolutely. It's a calling.
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
I feel very fortunate to be able to do that work. I certainly wish I didn't have all of the experiences, that led me to it, but I believe that I was set on this path for a reason, and
Exactly.
so I'm gonna see it through, and I'm gonna do it the best that I can. And that's not to say that there aren't days where I crawl under the covers and I'm totally in my human self and miserable. There are days like that.
You're still here in the physical. Yeah, I get those days. But you know what? For me, I get those moments, but they don't last like they used to. They come and go very quickly. You know,
we used to call them, or I still call them, grief attacks.
Yes,
it's a grief attack, and the difficult part is they come out of nowhere. So sometimes you have no idea that they're coming.
Exactly.
And in the beginning, boy, they take your legs right out from under you. We talk in our support group. We talk about it feeling like a wave, like you got pummeled by this wave.
Right.
You didn't see it coming, and it's just all consuming.
Yes.
In the beginning, it happens pretty often.
Yes.
And it starts to stretch out in between, and the size of the wave gets smaller.
Smaller, exactly.
So you can sometimes even still stand.
Yes.
When it's happening. And
right. Yeah.
So, and I'm only 3.5 years down the track. So who knows? I'm certain this is going to continue to change.
Yes, and grow.
And more. And I don't know what it'll grow into, but I have reached the point where I can smile again.
Yes.
And I did not think that was possible.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because it's good for people to hear. Yeah, they can smile. And your love, like you just said, every time you smile, that makes Austin smile.
That's right.
Yes.
But do you know how many people I work with that we talk about the guilt that comes when they smile, especially those first smiles and those first moments of happiness? They'll say that they'll smile, and then all of a sudden they'll get a wave of guilt, or how can I be smiling? My child is no longer here on earth. It's kind of,
right. That mind.
Yeah. But eventually, we work through it, and I think it's so important to know when you smile, they smile.
They smile. Exactly.
So every time you smile, you're helping your
exactly. And also, because everything is vibration, and this is science, and when I like to speak to the left brain people, because everything I believe in is based in science. It's science, everything is vibration. And where they're at right now is a high vibration. And for us to even, they have to lower their vibration to communicate with us. And we have to raise ours. We can't be way down there. They can't get down there, So, if we want to communicate with our loved ones, we have to raise our vibration. We have to smile. And then we will be able to connect with them much easier.
Yeah, I can really feel it. Like when I'm doing a reading and somebody is in deep, deep grief, you can feel it. It's so hard to get through. Yes. In fact, my friend Jake Senonyedny, my friend and teacher Jake Senonyedny, he's a wonderful medium out of New York. He talks about Crisco. He says when somebody's in heavy grief, it's like Crisco. trying to get the words and the communication through Crisco. It's
Yes.
solid and you can't get through and it sticks. And it's just,
Yes.
And then as grief progresses down and the edges start to come off of it, it's more like vegetable oil.
Okay.
And so you can get through
Yeah.
vegetable oil.
Yes.
So when people are in the Crisco stage
Yeah.
of super, super heavy grief, it's possible to do a reading, but the results are usually better when somebody's out of that the intense grief. You know, so there is something to that.
Yes.
And therefore, sometimes signs, it's hard for the signs to get through. It's hard for our brain to see a sign and let it in and accept it.
Right. Exactly. It's
but
like
eventually it clears.
Yes.
Usually.
Yes. Yes.
Not clears. I shouldn't use that. Lightens.
Opens up. It opens you up. You know, just by opening your heart. And I always say, I lead with my heart instead of my brain. And when you open your heart, you'll see what's always been right there in front of you sometimes, you know, but you have to open your heart to see it.
Yes. Yeah. And when you do, the healing really takes root.
Yes.
And then you can begin to see, what are you going to do with this journey?
Yes.
Now that life has given you this experience, what are you going to do with it?
Right. Exactly.
How is it going to color the rest of your life? And what are you going to make of it?
Very true. Because in every now moment we have that choice. We have that choice of how I believe that, like I said, I believe that with me and Kyle, we had a soul plan. And the soul plan was he wasn't going to be here very long, and that I would continue on, and that if I'm here, I believe there's over 7 billion people on the planet. Every person on the planet is here for a reason. A unique purpose is why they're here. And when they kind of just get very deep in being at a low vibration and being sad and depressed, they're not living at their fullest potential. They're not fulfilling their purpose for being here. And we are here. We are each here for a divine, unique purpose. And when you lighten that and when you raise your spirit, raise your vibration, your loved ones can communicate with you, and you can continue on with the work that you came here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I support that and agree with that. And a lot of times I have this talk with myself and I say, okay, if child loss was part of this learning journey, I certainly want to learn what I need to learn this go round, because I really don't want to do it again.
Exactly.
So I am dedicated to figuring this out and getting every drop of learning that I can. Because when I go over to the other side, I want to be able to look back and say, yes, I did learn.
Yes.
Here's what I learned, so I don't need to repeat this lesson.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And we all want to, the theory goes that we take the learning back, our soul evolves, and our soul group, we all evolve.
Exactly.
Humanity evolves.
Exactly.
So I want to contribute to all of that, and I want to maximize it. So
Yes.
So I had to get out of this super deep grief in order to let that process start.
Yes.
So my hope is for your listeners that they reach out and find people, they find resources, because this is so hard to do this on your own. This grief journey, it's so hard to do on your own. So I strongly advocate the use of support groups. Help Parents Heal is a great one. And just individuals and books, and classes, and meditation, and all of those pieces. Figure out what you need. Keep you going on the journey.
And the wonderful thing is that now we're living in 2019, almost 2020, where we have the World Wide Web, we have the internet. There's so many shows like this one. You know, there's so much great, you know, you have the groups helping parents heal. You have so much resource that you can find online. Matter of fact, while Kyle was on life support the last month of his life, I was in his ICU room, had my laptop, and I Googled Your Soul's Plan. That was and I didn't know there was a book called Your Soul's Plan, but I just Googled it because I did believe at that point this was a soul plan that Kyle and I had. And so, and that brought up the book, Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz, who was my very first guest on this show. So, yes. So, there's
so many resources, aren't there? Yes. And thank you, Caroline, on behalf of all the listeners and all the people out there for having this show. And there's at least one person out there that listened to your show today and they needed to hear some component of it, some piece of it. It just lined up. They needed to hear it and you just delivered it. So.
Oh, you did too. Yeah. Thank you so much, Colleen. Yes, and we are definitely going to stay in touch. Now, you are in Virginia?
I am, yeah.
Okay, because for some reason I have you in Ohio, and I don't know why.
But isn't it neat? I mean, all of these resources and whatnot, we've come to such a virtual age that it doesn't matter where the person's sitting.
Exactly.
These support groups, the therapists, all of these elements, you can get them virtually.
Yes. This is so
because you and I saw each other, and you're up in New York, and I'm in Virginia. And
yes. PA.
That's right. so the resources are out there, and it doesn't matter whether you're in a small town or a big place.
Exactly. That's why I say we live in a fantastic era where you can really find so much. People don't have to be stuck in their grief in their house alone because there's so much resource. And the internet is at everybody's fingertips. Most people have it in the palm of their hand, which I don't because I don't have a smartphone. Don't want one.
It does kind of take over.
Yes.
But if you are out there alone, just do one thing that connects you.
Yes.
Connects you to another person, connects you to a group. One piece of connection. And it can be the difference between life and death. It can be the difference between healing and not healing.
Yes.
So just one piece of connection.
Yes. Very, very true. Well, thank you, Colleen. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Yeah. And we will keep in touch. And you have a wonderful holiday season and the greatest new year. 2020 is just about here. Thank you,
Caroline.
So much.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.